All right, so this segment is on solving systems of equations by using substitution. So first thing is we kind of have to know, what is substitution? What does that mean? So even as you're watching this, you might have a substitute for me. So what's something that substitutes? It's something that takes the place of something else, right? Okay, so that's all you're going to do. You're going to take one equation and substitute it into the other equation. I know that sounds really crazy, but just watch. So if I look at my first system of equations, I notice that I have y equals 6x plus 11, and then 2x minus 3y equals negative 7. So I already know that y is exactly the same thing as 6x minus 11. They're the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 6x minus 11, and I'm going to plug it into this y right there. Okay? So before we talked about, is this point a solution? So now we have to find, what is the solution? And the solution is always a point, right? It's a point where they intersect. You kind of saw that before. So if I'm talking about a point that's a solution of both equations, then I need an x value and I need a y value. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 6x minus 11 in for y, and then I'm going to solve for x. So let's watch. So I have negative 2x minus 3. This is being multiplied, right? So I'm going to multiply it by 6x minus 11 equals negative 7. Okay? So I bring down my negative 2x. I have to distribute the negative 3. So negative 3 times 6x is negative 18x. Negative 3 times negative 11 is positive 33 equals negative 7. Okay? Now, what's my next step? I have to combine my like terms. Negative 2x minus 18x is negative 20x plus 33 equals negative 7. Okay? So, now, I need to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 33 on both sides. I get negative 20x equals negative 7 minus 33 is negative 40. Now, in order to solve for x, I need to divide by negative 20, and I see that x equals 2. Negative 40 divided by negative 20 is positive 2. Okay? So now I know what x is. Do I have my whole point, though? No, I'm still missing my y value. I've got to have an x and a y. So I'm going to take this x equals 2, and I'm going to plug it in. It doesn't matter which one, honestly. It'll work for both. However, since the first one's already solved for y, I can just plug in 2 and solve it. It makes it a lot easier. Always be smart. Y equals 6 times my 2 minus 11. 6 times 2 is 12. Minus 11 is 1. So y equals 1. So what is my point? I have to put them together as a point. I have my x, then my y. So my solution to this system is 2, 1. All right? Let's try number 2. Number 2, I do the same thing. Now, I already have y equals x minus 1. So y and x minus 1 are the same thing. So I'm going to substitute my y for x minus 1. Okay? So I'm going to take this and I'll plug it in right here. So I get 2x minus 3, that's a 3, times x minus 1 equals negative 1. Now notice when we do this, we get rid of y completely. That's the whole goal, is to only solve for 1. If I have an x and a y, I can't really solve for either one. If I solve for y, then I'm going to have my equation in slope-intercept form. And if I solve for x, I'm going to have a y on the other side. But I want a number. So that's why I need to plug in, so I just have x in my equation. I don't have any y's. So now I need to distribute. So 2x minus 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 1 is positive 3 equals negative 1. 2x minus 3x is negative 1x plus 3 equals negative 1. Solve for x, so I need to subtract 3. So I get negative 1x equals negative 4. Now I divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1, and so x equals positive 4. Alright, now I know what x is, I have to figure out what y is. So I'm going to go to this equation because y is already by itself and it's just going to be a little easier. So I can do 4 equals, I'm sorry, messed that up. I need to do y equals my 4 minus 1, right? Because x was 4. So then y equals 3. So my point then will be 4, 3. And that right there is my solution. Okay? I'm going to do one more that's a little harder. So I'm going to scroll down, go to a different part of this paper. I'm going to go where things are not solved for. So let's look at one like number 7. Number 7 is a little tricky. So the trick is, why are x's and already solved for? So I have to solve for one of them and then plug that in. So substitution sometimes isn't our friend. And later on we'll see another method that if you saw something like number 7, it would be a better choice. But we're just going to practice for now. So for number 7, I need to solve for 1. Now, because my x's have coefficients, that means if I solve for them, I'm going to have to divide, right? So I want to solve for one of these y's. Which y do I want to solve for? I want to solve for a positive y, because if I solve for the negative y, then I have to divide by negative 1, well, all this stuff, right? So let's solve for the positive y. So if I have negative 4x plus y equals 6, I need to solve for y, right? I want to get this all by itself, so I'm going to add 4x on both sides. Can I combine 6x and 4x? No. So I have y equals 4x plus 6. Okay? Now that I have y by itself, I can plug this 4x plus 6 into my second equation. Okay? So negative 5x minus 4x plus 6 equals 21. I have to distribute this negative. That's why I put parentheses around it. I've got to distribute the negative to each part. So negative 5x minus 4x minus 6 equals 21. All right? Combine my like terms. I get negative 9x minus 6 equals 21. I then need to add 6 on both sides. 6. And I get negative 9x equals 27. Now, I divide by negative 9, and x equals negative 3. Now, I know what x is, but I don't know what y is, so I got to figure it out. So I'm going to go back over here to this equation. So y equals 4 times negative 3 plus 6. That's negative 12 plus 6, which is negative 6. So y is negative 6, so my point is negative 3, negative 6. That's a lot of work, I know, but it gives me my right equation. Now, does it matter that I substituted my negative 3 in here or here? No, it wouldn't matter. It's just a little easier there. So I can plug in my negative 3 here, like negative 4 times 3 plus y equals 6, and you solve for y and you'll get the same answer, okay? So hopefully that helps with substitution. Remember, if you need help, go to my discussion board and send me a question and I'll answer it as soon as I can.